Well, Jane, thank you so much for jumping on here to say hello to the NFT NYC community. It's always a joy to have you join us. Of course, we're having you do a panel, and you've been a big part of our last couple of events. For those that don't know you, Jane, please introduce yourself to everybody and tell them all the fun things that you get to spend doing.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Ian. It is always so much fun to do NFT.NYC. It's one of the best events of the year. I kind of stumbled into the blockchain crypto NFT world a few years ago through a friend of mine that was in investment relations. And I had just started my own business doing TV and interviews out of the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. And a friend of mine in IR was like, hey, a lot of people talking about digital assets and things like that. And you want to do an interview with some of these companies. And being an entrepreneur, I take work and business. And so I did. And after a few of these interviews, I was like, wow, this is really transformational technology. And I just feel so fortunate to have kind of been introduced to it and stumbled into it. And then I met Jody through that. And the rest is history, because I've been involved in NFT.NYC. I guess this is the third year or fourth year or something coming up this year that I'll be doing it. It's just always a great time, always really fun, educational, and just a memorable event.
So tell me a bit about what you have been most intrigued in your recent interviews and the different things that you're doing with media. What really has captivated your attention personally lately?
Well, I love to do interviews with innovators and kind of startup companies. It'd be great to interview Elon Musk or Tim Cook, but I really kind of like talking to these people that have this passion. They started a business. They're kind of in the trenches. They're working hard, meetings back to back to back to back. And so I really like hearing their stories. And a lot of this has to do with blockchain. And I just recently did an interview with a blockchain company that went public on the NASDAQ this month. I love it, calls it track and trace technology, which I think exactly explains what blockchain does and how important it can be to the future economy. And they track and trace fashion and metals, and it will expand to other things too, I'm sure. So that was really interesting. And I've also been interested to hear about investments in NFTs. They were hugely popular a few years ago, kind of collapsed. Now we've settled down a little bit. But the NFT product in terms of consumer product and money spent is second only to the smartphone. Right. In terms of how rapidly that it's been a consumer adopted product. So there's potential there in so many ways for NFTs in terms of ticketing and real estate and artwork and music, and that fractional ownership, tokenization economy is really going to be part of the future. And I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. David Pakman puts it so well when he talks about, $50 billion happened with consumer spending in the NFT market, which, as you mentioned, second only to the smartphones. And there still is an active market today. And of course, a lot of people are talking about building, right? That's the big thing, right? This is the moment to really focus on building the right infrastructure, the right partnerships, the right technology, developing the right communities. When you look at things today, what do you think are some blind spots? Because you get to interview all these different people, you get to see so many different things. What are some blind spots that maybe you mentioned entrepreneurs, that maybe entrepreneurs aren't seeing, or opportunities that maybe they're not aware of that they could be helping solve?
Well, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs in tech are so smart about their technology that they have trouble kind of just whittling it down to what does this mean in one sentence. I mean, it's so difficult because most people have no idea. What is blockchain? What is AI? What is, NFTs, crypto? Is that a scam? Whatever. I've heard people say that to me. So I think that we need to focus on what does this mean for the consumer, and focus on the end product and how this will make their lives easier, better, more efficient, etc. And instead of on kind of the guts of the technology, you think about what made the Mac so popular and the iPhone so popular, which I think they didn't really worry about teaching everybody the technology. They just made it easy to use. And I think that, we need to focus on the consumer more when it comes to these types of technologies.
Apple's also built community in a different way than anybody else that were their competitors. And we see that community certainly is a driving force. It is the impetus of success in Web3. What do you think are the best wise decisions to be made when it comes to developing community in Web3?
Well, I think there is a huge potential to do this. And I think, Jody Rich says it best, we all love that community. We love to be instantly introduced to people who like the same things that we do, and we can share those things and, perhaps, gain money or something, some kind of incentive to be a part of these communities. So I think there's so many, any kind of interest that people have can really be made a community. There can be an NFT around it. And as the world and the economy grows more digital, there's just going to be more and more opportunities for that to happen.
Absolutely. When people ask you, so NFT NYC, should I be there? Should we send our team there? How do you explain what our amazing community event is that we are gathering up April 12th to the 14th, just in a couple weeks?
Oh my God. You need to be here in person, honestly. I'm not just saying that in addition to the back-to-back informative sessions that you will see that are everything from music to art to legal to taxes to investment, that just the meetings and all these peripheral things that happen around it, you really have to be in person for it. And to me, that's some of the most memorable things about NFT.NYC. So last year I went to a couple of art gallery parties, met some people. You immediately have things in common with these people. There's a sneaker party that my 15-year-old son is involved now in NFT.NYC, and he went to and was the coolest kid in his class for a week because, he was in the sneaker party at NFT.NYC. And then it just gives a great opportunity for meetings. So many people are here. You can set up these meetings, you can have coffee with people, talk about your projects, develop partnerships. It's just 3 days of great fun, a lot of learning, and good connections.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a moment before we wrap up about your panel. You have a panel. It is an expert advanced level panel, and it's titled How to Attract Institutional Money for Your NFT Project.
Yes.
So maybe you could give us a bit of insight on how you see the best ways to attract institutional money into an NFT project. Maybe you could also give us some clarity on if it's a brand new project that's coming out or if it's one that's already established.
Well, I do think, I'll reiterate, coming to NFT.NYC would be a great way to get institutional money, or at least start the process. I did have somebody, a venture capitalist in this space, tell me once that he doesn't really respond to cold calls, and that he feels that if it's a mutual introduction, this industry is so small, in other words, that if you've got a good project that's mature enough, that there should be a mutual introduction that takes place. And so again, that's the point of, being around people and meeting people and discussing your project. And this person can refer you to that person and this person to that person. This is an industry that's still so new that it's very collaborative. I also work in TV, not collaborative. Right. Everybody's competing against each other. Blockchain, NFT, crypto, very collaborative. Everybody wants to work together. Everybody can share ideas. It's very, it's open source in that way. So I think you meet as many people as you can, you work on that project as much as you can, and you look for those VCs that are in this space that really understand it. And there are some, not all of them, but there are some. So I think, once you kind of get those things, hone that project, think about the business model, how it would actually make money. And then you're ready to start talking to these venture capitalists about that. So that's what the panel is going to be about. We're getting Bruce Porter's on there. He's a great resource for these things. We got some wonderful people on the panel that everybody will have some really valuable things to say.
And if people wanted to reach out to you, let's say they are an entrepreneur, they have a story to tell, they want to see, you have all these different mediums by which you help people tell stories. Maybe you could give a bit of context for that, what the opportunities might be. And if somebody does want to reach out, maybe they should come up to you at NFT NYC, but you can give them a little insight in how they might want to approach you, what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love LinkedIn and Twitter. So those are my two favorites. So at Market Jane at Twitter, I'm Jane King on LinkedIn. So feel free to send me a message there. I do daily reports for TV stations around the country from the NASDAQ market site, Monday through Friday, morning shows. I have a show that airs in San Francisco, so Silicon Valley. It's called Innovators. And we focus on all kinds of innovation, blockchain, new energy, biotech, all kinds of stuff. And then I also host a show, New to the Street, that runs on Newsmax and Bloomberg and Fox Business. And that also features up and coming companies, a lot of blockchain on there as well. So reach out to me and let's talk. Or we'll set up something at nft.nyc and we'll go from there.
Well, Jane, thank you once again for being part of our team. It takes all of us to create what NFT NYC has become, which is in many ways an anchor by which all these different projects that we call the Web3 world can come together and do their own satellite events and bring their communities and meet other people that can multiply the impact of what they're doing. Yeah. So Jane, I will see you in a couple weeks there at NFT NYC.
Thanks so much.
Everybody that watched our conversation, thank you for your attention. And